Welcome to Viva la Maquina. We're back to the Don Garlits Museum here in Ocala. Definitely one of the biggest drag racing legends. Let's go inside. Have you ever heard of the Swamp Rat 7? Maybe not. Don Garlits actually never drove it. Apparently, Mr. Connie Swingle built it, and Don Garlits was supposed to run it. Apparently Swingle was testing it and flipped it, destroyed the car. They salvaged some parts, and many years later, here are the shops. They put this together to look good, but no, was not really a competition car. This is another Joko's body, pretty streamlined, slingshot. Got like a manifold for the exhaust and a full enclosed cabin. Interesting. This is 1964 Streamliner. Well, here we can also find some bikes. Not a typical bike. This is a top fuel drag bike. Got a supercharger. Got all the right stuff to go 200 miles per hour in 7 seconds. Engine room. Well, if you like engines, definitely this is the place to be at the Don Garlits Museum. Is the engine room. Got a little bit of everything. From old stuff to older stuff. Some chunks of dragsters of yesteryears. Chrysler Marine engines. Just 250 horsepower, about what a Honda Civic gets now. Nowadays, everybody just mentions, yeah, my Hemi this, my Hemi that. Well, this is what Hemi means. We got hemispherical, it's like a semicircle, and that makes it a lot more power and a lot more efficient, sort of. A mogul head, this was considered pretty hot rod kind of stuff. Long time ago. You like injectors and heads? We got them all. And we got a bunch of the Chrysler engines. Big Daddy made his career with Mopar. Back in 2003, 8,000 horsepower was pretty much the top for the top fuel dragsters. Look at this. He's sold in a plexiglass kind of box. Look at the multiple clutches. This is the difference, like in the late 60s when teams like Dome Prud'homme was able to figure it out that, one clutch was not gonna happen, too much power. So they came up with this concept, multiple clutches. They engage and you can put a lot of power, not all at once, but it feels like it. So you're able to hook up and get out of the way quick. Well, if you don't like belts, maybe this is a direct drive way to put the supercharger. Yeah, why not? Put it in front of the engine, hook it directly to the front, and there you go. No belt for you. You want to see heads on carburetors, names like Edelbrock, Offenhauser, and many more. Never seen a Lenco Sure Shift up close? Here we go. At 200 miles per hour, you're pulling those levers to change gears. Sounds like fun. Back in 41, Granatelli Brothers came up with this thing. It's a 239 CID with a blower on top. It didn't do like a whole lot. I mean, we're talking about 150 horsepower. Eventually, Granatelli ended up putting together some of the greatest IndyCar team to win Indy 500 on the hands of Mario Andretti. And this is This was them in the 1940s. Shiny. Getty Nationals 96. This guy was having a good day until this happened. 2/3 of the engine is missing. Kaboom. Have you ever heard of the Greek? His name was Chris Karamessinas. Well, Chris, according to Don Garlits himself, he said that throughout the years, he was the guy that he raced the most. The Greek was not as successful as Don Garlits, but he was a very fierce competitor, and he had a tremendous team. And they went to a lot of matches back in the 60s and 70s. The Greek. Someday I'm gonna retire, come over here and read all this. They have a whole stack of newspaper clippings. You know, there was no internet 50, 40 years ago. So you kept the clipping, and this weighs like 50 pounds. Yeah, there you go. 1950s, 60s, 70s website. Ever heard of Dick Craft? Well, this is his invention. He raced this thing. Not a whole lot of safety, but a whole lot of pictures. This is the first old fiberglass funny car built and driven by Bruce Larson and team. You know, it's a funny car, but I'll say the proportion looks pretty much in set with a real car. 54 Slingshot. I do like orange. This is very particular because look where the supercharger is, right in front of the engine instead of on top. And the chassis actually is from Ford Model T, apparently. That's what he says there. I bet they slice and cut, reinforce a lot. And that's the cabin. It doesn't look too luxurious to me. The Bean Bandit. Look at this. Looks like a banana. Pretty cool little buggy. By today's standards, the name might be considered racist. And there's Don Garlits with the Bean Bandits. The experimental air car. Yes, back in the 60s, they figured that the compressor, supercharger, takes about 2,000 horsepower. So if you put a big old tank of compressed air in your dragster, you'll be able to pick up 2,000 horsepower. So that was the idea. Control was the problem. He had like too much power at the beginning and not enough at the top end when you really need it. And then this engine, this Sidewinder engine, was not, I don't think they never made it work the way they want it. But here it is. They keep on experimenting. This was actually Malone, Don Garlits' partner in crime, let's say. One of my viewers told me that he had a car here. He said that it was the Jungle Gem. So I guess it's this one right here. Beautiful paint. It's an early Vega 73, 74. Funny car. Yeah, I watched this car race several times on TV and movies. Shirley Muldowney had a brief time doing funny cars. Is not what she's known for, but this is a good looking funny car. Awesome paint. You think you got wall art at your little man cave in your little garage. Yeah, right. All the cars, all the years, all the people. promised in part one, we're gonna see now the Antique Car Museum. And here we go, folks. This is how 94, 95, 90 something amount of cars we have in this building. And we have a lot of art and other things, but mostly cars. And of course, we got some engines. Chrysler, of course. Dodges. Flatheads. We got it all. Ever heard of the brass era? Well, here we go. We got plenty of brands in the car. Beginning of the 20th century, maybe 05 to 10, maybe 15. And this is how an old 50s garage looked like. Look at the sun diagnostic. Now we got OBD2 and a laptop. You got a lot of cars, mostly Fords for Model A's, 1930s, Roadsters, Cabriolet, three-window coupe. This was the cheapest automobile in 1904.
That's right.
One cylinder in the back. He was called the buckboard because he got a board like a skateboard. Pretty cheap. Only $300 and something, $375. Not bad. This is a typical Fiat Topolino, I believe from the 50s. Hot rodders, called Fiat machinery out, left the chassis, and this is a B-Com. Most of them were gassers in the 60s and 70s, and there's still some around. Pretty small, short wheelbase, a handle to drive. Well, these two are Crossley station wagon, and not necessarily the most beautiful car in the world. This looks like a Bug-Eye Crossley Hotshot. This is 1951. Look what the tiny baby engines. This is my hand, okay? Yeah, it's like a go-kart with 4 cylinders. Noise, there's a Chrysler Victory Siren. Yeah, 1952. Put a Chrysler Hemi engine in this big old Siren because they thought the Russians were dropping atomic bombs. Ford Tudor, more Tudor. 49 Custom, Mercury convertible. Look at this beautiful nose. 40 Mercury convertible. I love this nose. Plenty of cars from the 30s. It's a Plymouth, but they're mostly Fords. Now Dodge. So this is the Dodge corner here, apparently. On a Buick. Look how heavy it looks. More Buicks. More Fords. Pickup truck. Some Chevrolets too. 40s wheelies. Look at that beautiful front on the grill. Awesome. 1940 Studebaker. Kind of different color. Studebaker 48. Look how streamlined and smooth. Kind of a very good looking truck. Oh yes, we have it all. From Studebaker dump truck, Studebaker Commander, Smokey Unix hot vapor car. Yeah, Smokey was a tinkerer, just like Don Garlits was. And by far, this is the newest car here. 84 Fiero, 86 actually. Yeah, it's a good car. It's a piece of junk, So you get all that stuff and put some other engine in it. Plymouth, 1956 Dwight Eisenhower. Bought it for the birthday. T-Bird and V8 lawnmower. Tricycle. More Mopars, Chrysler from the 50s. Imperial. Oh, this is more my speed. 1970 Dodge Challenger. And this, I don't know what this is. Off-road world champion. 71. So that guy, the boss, Bill Wishnick, I guess he liked custom, and he did this thing with a big old wing. Looks like a sink in the back. Mopar from the late 60s. Hemi-powered 426. And then we dropped to a 65 Corvair with a little 6-cylinder, 110 horsepower. Mustangs, a lot of Fords. Fairlane, Mercury. Look at this. This is a beautiful paint. This is the car that Fonzie drove in Happy Days. Remember Happy Days? That series? That it was like from the 50s. But it was played in the 70s. Engines. More engines. Mercury. Bean Bandits. With a little yellow car. 1950 Ford standard 3-speed. Lincoln Zephyr V12. It's a big, humongous engine. 1930s. 37 Ford. 37 V8, 85 horsepower. 34 Ford V8. Another flathead. Smoky Unit 54 Hudson Hornet. Got one of 54 Darlington 500 race with Herb Thomas driving it. I bet he had some tricks on it. Smoky Unit. Inventor, mechanic / engineer. Awesome. Smoky Unit. He pretty much did his own fuel to have the right octane for the right engine. That was before NASCAR kind of took it over and it kind of became a spec car kind of thing.